Frequently requested statistics on immigrants and immigration in the United States. Immigration seems to be ever present in current political and public debate in the United States, with the topic central in the 2016 presidential campaign and since then, amid ongoing policy conversations about border wall construction, refugee resettlement cuts, family separation, and much more. Yet even as positions taken by political parties and individuals seem hardened, immigration flows and the makeup of the U.S. immigrant population have been changing in significant, though not always fully appreciated, ways. Among the changes, the overall immigrant population continues to grow, but at a slower rate than before the 2007-09 recession. Recent immigrants are more likely to be from Asia than from Mexico, and are also more likely to have a college degree. The size of the unauthorized population appears to be on the decline. Deportations from within the United States are rising. And the United States in 2018 resettled the smallest number of refugees since formal creation of the Refugee Resettlement Program in 1980. To help inform discussions around immigration, this spotlight offers in one accessible resource the most authoritative, unbiased, and current data available about the 44.5 million immigrants resident in the United States as of 2017. By compiling some of the most frequently requested facts and figures, this article provides answers to questions such as, what are the trends shaping immigration to our country? How many people have immigrated to the United States, and via what channels? How many arrived as refugees, and from which countries? Has the number of unauthorized immigrants changed in recent years? What jobs do immigrants fill? And how many U.S. residents are either immigrants or the children of immigrants? The article draws on the most recent resources and data from the Migration Policy Institute, MPI, the U.S. Census Bureau, using its 2017 American Community Survey ACS, 2018 Current Population Survey CPS, and 2000 Decennial Census, and the U.S. Departments of Homeland Security, DHS, and State. Note, DHS and State Department data refer to fiscal years that begin on October 1 and end on September 30. ACS and CPS data refer to calendar years. For more detailed information on U.S. and global immigration data sources and one-click access to these datasets, see the MPI report Immigration Data Matters. Immigrants now and historically. How many immigrants reside in the United States? More than 44.5 million immigrants resided in the United States in 2017, the historical high since census records have been kept. 1 in 7 U.S. residents is foreign-born, according to 2017 American Community Survey, ACS, data. While immigrants' current share 13.7% of the overall U.S. population, 325.7 million people, has been increasing since the record low marked in 1970, it remains below the historical record of 14.8% hit in 1890. Between 2016 and 2017, the foreign-born population increased by about 787,000, or almost 2%, a rate higher than the 1% growth experienced between 2015 and 2016, but lower than the 3% increase between 2013 and 2014. How have the number and share of immigrants changed over time? Data on the nativity of the U.S. population was first collected in the 1850 census. That year, there were 2.2 million immigrants, representing nearly 10% of the overall population. Between 1860 and 1920, the immigrant share fluctuated between 13% and almost 15% of the overall population, peaking at 14.8% in 1890, largely due to high levels of immigration from Europe. Restrictive immigration laws in 1921 and 1924, which kept the channels to permanent immigration open almost exclusively to Northern and Western European immigrants, coupled with the Great Depression and World War II, led to a sharp drop in new arrivals from the Eastern Hemisphere. The foreign-born share steadily declined, hitting a record low of 4.7% in 1970, 9.6 million, see Figure 1. How has immigration to the United States fluctuated over time? Check out the U.S. immigrant population and share over time, 1850 present data tool. Since then, the share and number of immigrants have increased rapidly, mainly because of large-scale immigration from Latin America and Asia, with the foreign-born population standing at 44.5 million as of 2017. Important shifts in U.S. immigration law, including the Immigration Act of 1965 that abolished national origin admission quotas, the Refugee Act of 1980, and preferential treatment of Cuban immigrants, the United States' growing economic and military presence in Asia and Latin America, economic ties, powerful immigrant networks, and deep migration history between the United States and its southern neighbors, and major economic transformations and political instability in countries around the world all have helped usher in the vast diversification of immigration flows. How do today's top countries of origin compare to those 50 years ago? In 2017, Mexicans accounted for approximately 25% of immigrants in the United States, making them by far the largest foreign-born group. Indians and Chinese, including immigrants from Hong Kong but not Taiwan, were the next two largest groups, each comprising close to 6%, followed by Filipinos at 5%. Rounding out the top 10 were El Salvador, Vietnam, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic, about 3% each, and South Korea and Guatemala, approximately 2%. Together, these countries were the origin for 57% of the U.S. immigrant population in 2017. The predominance of Latin American and Asian immigration in the late 20th and early 21st centuries starkly contrasts with the trend in the mid-1900s, when immigrants were largely European. In the 1960s, no single country accounted for more than 15% of the total immigrant population. Italians were the top origin group, making up 13% of the foreign-born in 1960, followed by Germans and Canadians, about 10% each. To see immigration trends from individual countries over time, use the countries of birth for U.S. immigrants, 1960 present data tool. How many immigrants have entered the United States since 2010, and what are the leading sending countries? 21% of the 44.5 million immigrants in the United States in 2017 entered in 2010 or later, 26% arrived between 2000 and 2009, 22% between 1990 and 1999, and 31% before 1990. While immigrants from Mexico dominated the flows post-1970, the makeup of newcomers has changed since the 2007-09 recession. Recently arrived immigrants are more likely to come from Asia, with India and China leading the way. Countries such as the Dominican Republic, the Philippines, Cuba, El Salvador, and Venezuela have also seen sizable emigration to the United States. By contrast, there were fewer Mexican immigrants in the United States in 2017 than in 2010, representing the biggest decline of all immigrant groups. Check out largest U.S. immigrant groups over time, 1960 present, an interactive tool showing the top 10 source countries by decade. To learn more about key immigrant populations, check out the Migration Information Sources Spotlights archive, which includes data-rich articles on individual immigrant groups in the United States, including Mexicans, Indians, Chinese, Vietnamese, Koreans, South Americans, Europeans, Sub-Saharan Africans, and those from the Middle East North Africa region. How many U.S. residents are of recent immigrant origin? Immigrants and their U.S.-born children now number approximately 89.4 million people, or 28% of the overall U.S. population, according to the 2018 Current Population Survey, CPS. Pew Research Center projects that the immigrant origin share will rise to about 36% by 2065. Demographic, educational, and linguistic characteristics. What is the median age for immigrants? Overall, the immigrant population in 2017 was older than the U.S.-born population, with a median age of 44.8 years as compared to 36.2 years for the native-born. The latter are younger largely because most children of immigrants are born in the United States and a significant share are under age 18. In 2017, fewer than 1% of immigrants were under age 5, compared to 7% for the native-born. Approximately 5% were ages 5 to 17, versus 18%, 79% were ages 18 to 64, compared to 59%, and 16% were ages 65 and older, the same as the US-born. What is the female share of the immigrant population? In 2017, approximately 52% of immigrants were female. The share has fluctuated slightly over the past 4 decades. Women accounted for 53% of immigrants in 1980, 51% in 1990, 50% in 2000, and 51% in 2010. What is the racial makeup of immigrants? 46% of immigrants in 2017 reported their race as single-race white, 27% as Asian, 9% as black, and 16% as some other race. About 2% reported having two or more races. How many immigrants are Hispanic or Latino? In 2017, 44% of U.S. immigrants, 19.7 million people, reported having Hispanic or Latino origins. Note, the Census Bureau classifies Hispanic and Latino as ethnic categories, separate from the racial categories listed above. See definitions box for more information. How many Hispanics in the United States are immigrants? The majority of U.S. Hispanics are native-born. Of the 58.8 million people in 2017 who self-identified as Hispanic or Latino, 34%, 19.7 million, were immigrants and 66%, 39.1 million, were native-born. Use the MPI Data Hub State Immigration Data Profiles tool to learn more about the demographic characteristics of immigrants and the U.S.-born, including race and ethnicity, in each of the 50 states and the District of Columbia, as well as nationally. Which languages are most frequently spoken at home? In 2017, approximately 78%, 239.3 million, of the 306 million people ages 5 and older in the United States reported speaking only English at home. The remaining 22%, 66.5 million, reported speaking a language other than English at home. Of the top languages, Spanish was by far the most common, 62%, followed by Chinese, 5%, including Mandarin and Cantonese, Tagalog, almost 3%, and Vietnamese, Arabic, French, including Cajun, and Korean, about 2% each. The remaining languages in the top 15 each accounted for approximately 1%, Russian, German, Haitian Creole, Hindi, Portuguese, Italian, Polish, and Urdu. What percentage of immigrants are limited English proficient? In 2017, approximately 48%, 21.2 million, of 44.2 million immigrants ages 5 and older were limited English proficient, LEP. Immigrants account for 82% of all LEP individuals over age 5, while native-born individuals account for 18%. Note, the term, limited English proficient, refers to persons ages 5 and older who reported speaking English not at all, not well, or well on their survey questionnaire. Individuals who reported speaking only English or speaking English very well are considered proficient in English. What share of the immigrant population has a college education? In 2017, 31%, 12 million, of the 39 million immigrants ages 25 and older had a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to 32% of U.S.-born adults, see Figure 2. Notably, the share of college-educated immigrants was much higher, 47% among those who entered the country in the previous 5 years, between 2012 and 2017. Educational attainment varies by country of origin. In 2017, the top 5 countries of origin for immigrants with a bachelor's degree or more were India, 79%, Taiwan, 72%, Egypt, 68%, Latvia, 67%, and Kuwait, 65%. Immigrant destinations. Which states have the largest number of immigrants and which ones have experienced the fastest growth of their immigrant populations? In 2017, the top 5 U.S. states by number of immigrants were California, 10.7 million, Texas, 4.9 million, New York, 4.5 million, Florida, 4.4 million, and New Jersey, 2.1 million. When classified by the share of immigrants out of the total state population, the top 5 states in 2017 were California, 27%, New York, 23%, New Jersey, 23%, Florida, 21%, and Nevada, 20%. Interested in the top U.S. destinations for immigrants by country or region of origin? Use our interactive maps to see top immigrant concentrations at state and county or metropolitan area levels. While traditional immigrant destinations lead in terms of absolute number of new immigrants, other states have seen much larger relative growth in their immigrant populations, see Table 1. For more information on the top states of residence for the foreign-born, see the interactive tool, Immigrant Population by State, 1990 present. Immigrants in the labor force. How many immigrants are in the U.S. civilian labor force? Immigrants accounted for 17%, 28 million, of the 163.7 million persons in the civilian labor force in 2017. Between 1970 and 2017, the percentage of the foreign-born in the labor force more than tripled, from 5% to 17%. Over the same period, the foreign-born share of the total population grew more slowly, from less than 5% to just under 14%. For more on the share of immigrants in the labor force nationwide and by state since 1980, see Immigrant Share of the U.S. Population and Civilian Labor Force, 1980 present. What types of jobs do immigrants hold? Of the 26.8 million employed foreign-born workers ages 16 and older in 2017, the largest share, more than 32%, worked in management, professional, and related occupations. See Figure 3 for other occupations. Check out our state immigration data profiles for more information on the labor force participation of immigrants and the U.S. born in the United States, each of the 50 states, and the District of Columbia. Health insurance coverage. What share of immigrants have health insurance? In 2017, approximately 57% of U.S. immigrants had private health insurance, compared to 69% of the U.S. born, and 30% had public health insurance coverage, compared to 36% of the native-born. Since implementation of the Affordable Care Act in 2014, health insurance coverage has improved for both the U.S.-born and immigrants. From 2013 to 2017, the immigrant uninsured rate fell from 32% to 20%, and the rate for the native-born fell from 12% to 7%. Note: health insurance coverage is calculated only for the civilian, non-institutionalized population. Since some people may simultaneously hold both private and public health insurance coverage, estimates of those with public health insurance and those with public coverage may overlap. Their sum therefore may be greater than the total number of people with health insurance. Children of immigrants. How many U.S. children live with immigrant parents? In 2017, approximately 18.2 million children under age 18 lived with at least one immigrant parent. They accounted for 26% of the 70 million children under age 18 in the United States, up from 13% in 1990 and 19% in 2000. Second-generation children born in the United States to at least one foreign-born parent accounted for 88%, 16 million, of all children under age 18 with immigrant parents. The remaining 12%, 2.2 million, were born outside the United States. For state-by-state and age information on children living with immigrant parents, see the Children in U.S. Immigrant Families Data tool. How has the number of children in immigrant families changed over time? Between 1990 and 2000, the number of children ages 17 and under with immigrant parents grew 60%, from 8.2 million to 13.1 million. Between 2000 and 2017, the number grew by another 39%, from 13.1 million to 18.2 million. The population of first-generation immigrant children grew by 43% between 1990 and 2000, from 1.9 million to 2.7 million, but then declined 19% between 2000 and 2017, from 2.7 million to 2.2 million. In contrast, the number of second-generation immigrant children has grown steadily since 1990. Between 1990 and 2000, the number increased by 65%, from 6.3 million to 10.4 million. Between 2000 and 2017, this population grew 54%, from 10.4 million to almost 16 million. How many children living with immigrant parents are in low-income families? In 2017, there were 27.4 million children under age 18 living in low-income families, i.e., with family incomes below 200% of the federal poverty threshold. Of them, 8.8 million, or 32%, were children of immigrants. For state-level estimates of children of immigrants and share in low-income families, see the demographic and social profiles in the State Immigration Data Profiles tool. Which states have the largest number of children in immigrant families and which ones have experienced the fastest growth of this population? In 2017, the top 5 states by the total number of children under age 18 living with immigrant parents were California, 4.1 million, Texas, 2.5 million, New York, 1.5 million, Florida, 1.4 million, and New Jersey, 767,000. These states accounted for 56% of the 18.2 million children with immigrant parents residing in the United States. In terms of the share of children with immigrant parents, The top 5 states in 2017 were California, 48% of all children in the state, New Jersey, 40%, Nevada, 38%, New York, 37%, and Texas, 35%. While traditional immigrant destinations experience the largest absolute growth in children with immigrant parents, other states have seen much larger relative growth. See Table 2. Permanent immigration. How many immigrants obtained lawful permanent residence, aka getting a green card, in 2017? In fiscal year, FY, 2017, 1.1 million immigrants became lawful permanent residents, LPRs, also known as green card holders. The number of new LPRs in 2017 decreased by 5% from 2016, 1.2 million. In the past decade, the number of new LPRs annually has ranged from 991,000, 2013, to 1.2 million, 2016. In recent years, green card holders have been roughly evenly divided between those already living in the United States who are adjusting their status and those applying from outside the country. Almost half, 49%, or 549,000, of the 1.1 million new LPRs in 2017 received green cards from within the United States. Many of these new permanent residents are spouses, minor children, and parents of U.S. citizens, or persons who arrived as refugees or as temporary workers. A slightly higher number of new LPRs, 578,000, or 51%, were persons granted this status from abroad. The share of new arrivals rose steadily in the past decade from 41 to 42% in 2008-09, to 46 to 47% in 2013-14, and surpassing 50% in 2016. The majority of new arrivals are immediate family members of U.S. citizens and LPRs. Trace changing immigration trends over time with the legal immigration to the United States, 1820 present data tool. Under which categories are permanent immigrants admitted? There are 4 main pathways to obtain a green card: through a family relationship, employment sponsorship, humanitarian protection, refugees and asylees, and the diversity visa, DV, lottery. Overall, of the 1.1 million immigrants who received green cards in 2017, 46% were immediate relatives of U.S. citizens. Immediate relatives have unlimited annual visas, followed by another 21% of family-related immigrants, whose admission is limited by visa and country caps. 13% adjusted from refugee or asylee status. About 12% of LPRs were either sponsored by their employers or were able to self-sponsor, including investors. Roughly 5% were diversity lottery winners. What are the top 5 countries of birth for new permanent immigrants in 2017? The top 5 countries of birth were Mexico, 15%, mainland China and Cuba, 6% each, and India and the Dominican Republic, 5% each. These countries represented about 38% of all persons who received green cards in 2017. How many people are selected in the diversity visa lottery and where do they come from? In 2017, 51,600 people received green cards as diversity immigrants, from countries with low rates of immigration, representing approximately 5% of the 1.1 million new LPRs. The leading countries of birth of DV immigrants were Nepal, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Egypt, which each accounted for about 6% of DV immigrants, followed by Ethiopia, Iran, Uzbekistan, and Albania, with 5% each. For some countries, the diversity visa lottery represents a major share of all new LPRs. For example, among Algerians who received a green card in 2017, 62% did South Viaduct the green card lottery. Shares were also high for Uzbekistan, 58%, and Tajikistan, 56%, and represented between 40 and 50% of LPRs born in Albania, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Togo, Sudan, Benin, and Moldova. Created in 1990, the lottery sets aside 55,000 diversity visas annually, of which 5,000 must be used for applicants under the Nicaraguan and Central America Relief Act of 1997. Interest in the lottery is significantly higher than there are available visas. About 14.7 million qualified applications were registered for the DV 2018, in total covering 23.1 million applicants, their spouses, and their minor children. The number registering in the DV 2018 was 61% higher than the 9.2 million registered for the DV 2009. The application number varies each year depending on which countries are eligible. Before receiving permission to immigrate, lottery winners must provide proof of a high school education or its equivalent or show 2 years of work experience within the past 5 years in an occupation that requires at least 2 years of training or experience. They also must pass a medical exam and a background check. Read the State Department Visa Bulletin for March 2019 for more on the DV 2019 lottery results. Temporary visas. How many people have temporary visas? According to the most recently available Department of Homeland Security, DHS, estimates at the time of this writing, 2.3 million immigrants on various temporary visas resided in the United States during 2016, up from about 2 million in 2015. Almost half, 1,100,000, were temporary workers and their families, followed by 870,000 foreign students and their families, 40%. 61% were from Asia. Nationals of countries in Europe and North America accounted for 15% each. The top 5 countries of origin India, China, Mexico, Canada, and South Korea accounted for 57% of all residents on temporary visas. Note, this estimate of temporary visa holders includes temporary workers, international students, exchange visitors, diplomats, and representatives of foreign governments and international organizations. It excludes tourists and other short-term visitors. North America includes Canada, Bermuda, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. How many people entered the United States on non-immigrant visas? In 2016, 42.7 million individuals entered the United States as I-94 non-immigrants on various temporary visas. On average, each I-94 non-immigrant was admitted 1.8 times. This is the first time the DHS Office of Immigration Statistics, OIS, estimated the number of unique individuals who came temporarily, as opposed to the number of non-immigrant admissions or entries. Most of these non-immigrants, 34.2 million, entered as tourists, followed by March 7 million business visitors. Of these, 15 million tourists and 1.7 million business travelers were from visa waiver countries. Further, 1 million international students entered on F1 visas. OIS estimated that additionally about 290,300 individuals were admitted on high-skilled worker H-1B visas, mostly from India, China, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Mexico, and 81,600 on non-agricultural temporary or seasonal worker H-2B visas, mostly from Mexico, Jamaica, Guatemala, South Africa, and Canada. How many non-immigrant visas does the State Department issue? In FY 2018, the annual number of non-immigrant visas issued by the State Department decreased for the third time to 9 million, a 7% decline from the 9.7 million issued in FY 2017. The Trump administration implemented a number of policies in 2017 and 2018 that could lead to a decline in admissions, including the travel ban barring individuals from certain countries from U.S. entry, lengthened visa application processes, and greater discretion for consular officers to deny visas. From FY 2015 to FY 2018, visa refusal rates for tourists and business travelers from travel ban countries increased significantly. All applications from North Korea were denied, followed by Somalia, 90%, Iran, 88%, Yemen, 83%, Syria, 77%, and Libya and Venezuela, 74% each. Furthermore, during the same period, visa refusal rates rose for visitors from some major non-travel ban countries, including Mexico, from 20% to 25%, mainland China, from 10% to 17%, and India, from 24% to 26%. 3/4 of the 9 million non-immigrant visas issued in FY 2018 were temporary business and tourist visas, B and BCC visas. The next largest visa class was for academic students and exchange visitors and their family members, F and J visa categories, who comprised around 8% of all non-immigrant visas issued in FY 2018. The third largest group of non-immigrant visas was given to temporary workers and trainees and their family members, H visa categories, who comprised 7% of non-immigrant visas. Looking at the distribution of temporary visas issued in 2018 by region of origin, the largest shares were issued to nationals from Asia, 43%, North America, 22%, including Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, and South America, 18%. The remainder, Europe, 12%, Africa, 6%, and Oceania, 0.7%. Note, the number of visas issued does not necessarily match the number of foreign nationals who entered the United States in the same year because some non-immigrant visas may not be used. How many non-immigrant admissions does DHS grant in a year? In total, DHS granted 181 million non-immigrant admissions in 2017, of which 103 million were admissions of Canadians traveling for business or pleasure and Mexicans who possess a non-resident border crossing card, i.e., laser visa. These travelers are exempt from completing the I-94 arrival/departure form at the port of entry, thus DHS does not provide characteristics for this group. In 2017, there were 77.6 million total temporary admissions of I-94 non-immigrants, a slight uptick from 77.1 million in 2016. See Table 3. Note, non-immigrant admissions represent the number of entries. Individuals may have multiple entries within the year. OIS reports characteristics of non-immigrants who must complete an I-94 arrival/departure form at entry. Refugees and asylum seekers. How many refugees entered the United States, and where were they from? Every year, the President in consultation with Congress sets the annual refugee admissions ceiling and allocations by region of origin. For FY 2019, the annual ceiling was set at 30,000, the lowest since the program began in 1980. In FY 2018, 22,491 refugees were resettled in the United States, amounting to less than half of the admission ceiling of 45,000 allocated for that year, largely due to processing delays and policies put in place to increase vetting of refugees. This represents a 58% drop compared to the 53,716 admitted in 2017. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, Myanmar, also known as Burma, Ukraine, Bhutan, and Eritrea were the primary countries of nationality, accounting for 78%, 17,565, of all refugees resettled in 2018. Rounding out the top 10 were Afghanistan, El Salvador, Pakistan, Russia, and Ethiopia. Together, nationals of the top 10 countries comprised 90%, 20,349, of all refugee arrivals in 2018. Frequently requested statistics on immigrants and immigration in the
ZipUtateUSAcommand.com